when everybody else puts the weight down, you do 5 more reps. And you think, I didn't think I could, but you can. And when you put that weight down, those muscles are just singing. How much are you willing to sacrifice? They want to know, well, what's your secret? You're 70 years old, you look like that. And I say, you know what? I know you'd love to think that there's a secret that I can tell you to make this easy. I think you know the secret. I just kept grinding. So I went back to work for another 6 months, and I thought, oh, okay, well, it was nice to get a trophy. Now I want to win one.
You're a man living in the modern world in a time when men and manhood are not what they once were. You live life on your own terms. You're self-sufficient. You think for yourself, and you march to the beat of your own drum. When life knocks you down, you get back up, because in your gut, you know that's what men do. You're a badass and a warrior, and on the days when you forget, we are here to remind you who you really are.
Welcome to Sovereign Man Podcast, where we aim to make men masculine again. I'm your man, Nicky Ballou, and we have a great guest lined up for you today, Steve Taylor. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here.
Good to have you. So, Steve, I ran across you on Instagram because you are a professional bodybuilder. You're an IFBB Pro bodybuilder, and you're over 60 years old. And I just saw your pictures, and I saw, damn, this dude looks legit, strong, tough, ripped. I had to bring him on here. So why don't you tell us a bit about your health and fitness and bodybuilding journey?
Sure. As a rule, I don't refer to myself as a bodybuilder. Technically speaking, the competitions that I do, I'm an IFBB Pro, and I won my Pro Card at 60 years old. I did it in the category of men's physique, which is kind of a thinner, sleeker version of a bodybuilder, not so much a gorilla look as I think they describe it as a muscular male model, kind of a look more. Yeah. And so yeah, I'm 69 years old now, and wow. I still do competitions. I've never ever done a competition. I literally started at age 57. And wow. It was sort of a bucket list kind of a thing. I let somebody in the gym talk me into it. I always had a pretty good physique. And I thought, I'd like to do a show sometime. And when they came out with this men's physique category, that was kind of more suited to my body. And so I decided I was going to do one for fun. And I ended up getting consumed. I got my butt handed to me in that competition. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was my own coach and did my own diet and my own posing. And I'd never even seen a physique competition before. And so I think there was about 15 guys in the field, and I finished 6th. So I was like the best of the worst. And that hurt my feelings. I felt like they sort of kicked sand in my face and sent me home. And the first 5 in the amateur competitions, the first 5 places get a trophy, and 6th on down. So I didn't get a trophy. I didn't get a little trophy or any little token. And so I said, damn, I was only going to do one, but I said, I think I can do better. So I went back to work, and I just worked my butt off for about 6 months, and I did another show. And, they have age groups. They have what they call a master's class, which is basically just a kind word for old people. But they have different age groups within the master class. And back then, when I first started, I was 57 years old, and the oldest age group that they had was 40. So I did the over 40 group, and I did the open group, which is the young guys. I figure if I'm going to go to all the trouble and preparation and diet, I'm gonna get up there a couple of times anyway. And so all through my amateur career, that's what I did. I would do the master's class, and I would do the open against the young guys. And as I improved, like I said, after 6 months after the first show, I went and did another show, and I finished 4th in the masters and 4th in the open. So I got 2 trophies, and I was pretty pleased with myself because I was fourth amongst the young guys at 57. And I just kept grinding. So I went back to work for another 6 months. And I thought, oh, okay, well, it was nice to get a trophy. Now I want to win one. And so I went back to work 6 months later. I did another one, and I actually won. And so I was hooked then. I was consumed. And I mean, my whole life started revolving around eating correctly and working out and posing and doing all these things that these competitors do. I became obsessed. And from there on out, as I started doing these amateur shows, even though in the master's class I was quite a bit older than everybody else, and in the open class I was way older than everybody else, but I was winning, and I was beating the young guys and the old guys and everybody, and they were all, even the old guys were way younger than me. So that kind of fired my rockets and got me thinking. And after I won all of the local shows here in the kind of in the Western region, I live in Oregon. I live in Bend, Oregon. And
Okay.
I'll do shows in Seattle and Portland and Salem and down in California and Idaho and kind of my area here. And I was winning all the time. So I said, okay, time for me to step up and go to nationals. And so at 59 years old, I did my first show on a national stage, and I was fifth. And I was happy with that because I was, again, the age groups hadn't really caught up with me. The oldest age group they had then was 45. And so I was fifth in the 45. And I thought, okay, this is great, but I don't want to keep going. So I went back and I did no shows for an entire year. And I just literally busted ass. It was probably one of the most miserable years of my life, just forcing food and trying to do everything correct for a year. And I went back and did that same show at 60 years old, and they'd added an extra age group. So they had a 45 and a 50 now. And so I entered the 45 and the 50, and I won. I didn't necessarily think I was going to win, but I did. So once you win a national championship, you get your pro card. And so that's how I got my pro card. I won a national championship at 60 years old, and I won the 45 and the 50-year-old age group. And I got to tell you, I really milked the hell out of that situation. They made a big deal out of me because I was 60, and you're not supposed to be able to do that at 60. So that kind of opened a lot of doors for me. I mean, one day I was 59 and nobody cared. The next day I'm 60 and I win a pro card in the 45, and all of a sudden I'm somebody, which was kind of fun. I wasn't expecting it. And from there, it's just opened so many doors. And I can't even tell you. I've been on TV shows and movies and documentaries and appearances in different places. And it's really been fun for an old man, the attention that I can get with it. And so I've clung to it ever since. Anybody that does what I do that says that they don't have an ego or vanity is lying to you. So I dig the attention, and it's probably what's kept me hanging in there this long, and the fact that I've been able to be successful. And I'm just happy to be this old and still be relevant and be able to beat somebody at something. So
That's incredible. You're still doing shows, competitive shows?
yes, the last one I did one about 6 months ago in Daytona Beach. I did a pro show there, and they still don't have age groups as old as me, but they're going to add a 60-year-old age group now. Of course, I'll be 70 because I turned 69 about a month ago, and so I'm going to. I had a little setback. I had some stem cell work done on my back and my shoulder, and I'm doing a little recovery right now. But I'm going to do at least one more. The last two pro shows that I've done, I was second. And I want to win one and go out a winner, and I got to stop. I don't want to be the old guy that didn't know when to go away. So I'm worried about that. And, I've retired a couple times in my mind and said, okay, I think I'm good. And then I come out of retirement, like a lot of old guys that don't know when to stop. So that's kind of how I've been with doing shows, but it's fun. I've been consumed by it, and I dig this stuff, Nick.
Yeah, I can see that, man. Um, you're in a sport where you don't really need to retire if you don't want to. You can keep lifting weights until the day you die.
Oh, and I will. I will.
Yeah.
I want to stay fit, but I got to tell you that as I get older, some of the stuff that I have to do to stay at basically a world class level, and being so much older than everybody else, and there's other older guys that do it. They don't seem to ever be as old as me, and now they will have a 60-year-old age group, but that's still 10 years younger than me. And I can tell you, as I've gotten older, it's been harder to, well, again, like when I was in my 50s, I didn't care if I was 15 or 20 years older than the others doing the open classes and all that. I could still win. But as I got into my 60s, I noticed that I had a harder time beating the young guys, and that the really good world-class older guys were serious competition for me. And like I said, I told you, the last two shows I did, I got second. So, I was used to winning and being a superstar. But when you get your pro card, that first pro show, I got backstage and poop got real quite fast. Everybody's a hero. Everybody's a superstar where they came from. There's no gimmies. There's no weak links. And they all think they're going to win. They all won a national championship or a big show somewhere. And so it's crazy. You get backstage at one of these shows and you've never seen so many chiseled bodies in your life. It's crazy.
Well, I'm 57. I did my first show last summer, the day before my 57th birthday.
Yeah, I love that.
And, it was a 35 plus. That was the masters there.
Right. I call that an open class, Nick. That's not a master's class. That's an open.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And, I was happy with how I showed up for a first show. But I definitely need a lot more size. I'm around like 5'10", 5'11". And on stage, I weighed 167 pounds.
Yeah.
Like ripped. And I needed more size. I definitely needed probably another 10, 12 size. My favorite bodybuilder in terms of the body I aspire to have is Frank Zane. And he was around same height as me, and he competed in the high 170s. And I'm thinking, for me, that would be awesome. Really, like, not a mass monster, but really tight and chiseled. And honestly, it'd be nice to win a show. I don't really care that much to win. I want to win for me to get to that look.
Yeah.
Whether someone decides I'm better looking than other guys, I need to be better than I was. That's the most important thing to me. Will I do it more often? I don't know. We'll see. I like doing it. I like being somebody who's older than almost everybody else. I like pushing myself beyond there. And I think there's far too many younger fellas who aren't taking care of their health and fitness. They're letting themselves be weak, physically weak. And I wanted to chat with you about that. You're a strong man. You're somebody who's obviously taking this seriously. Why is it so important to you? Why do you think it should be important to other men?
It's just something. It's just something inside. Because a lot of people think it's silly, and people ask me, "What do you? Why? What?" And I really don't have any other explanation for it other than I like the way it looks. That's what attracted it to me from the beginning. I always liked the bodybuilder look from the time I was a skinny little kid. And I was always this tall, skinny Ichabod Crane looking dude. And I did not like that look. I liked that athletic, muscular build. I think a lot of people do, a lot of guys do anyway. And so that's what attracted me to it. And it's crazy what you're willing to put yourself through, because when I got in the pros, you actually make money. If you finish in the top three, then you get money. You don't have to take home a little crappy little trophy. You get money, and there's something satisfying about literally winning money when you win a a competition. But I just it's for me, it's just a feeling when I'm stepping up there and the judges are announcing the winners and the third, fifth place, fourth place, third place, blah, blah, and I'm standing there waiting to step up and be the big winner. It just creates a feeling of satisfaction like no other for me. I mentioned the year that I won my pro card, and after going to nationals my first time and getting fifth place, and then going home with a plan to bust my ass for a year and come back to that same show. And the fact that I did that, and the next year when I got back, I won. It was so incredibly satisfying. The fact that I implemented this plan, busted my ass for a year, and it worked out perfectly, just like I wanted it to. And there's just a satisfaction in that I can't get anywhere else for me. And I think there's a lot of things that people do that is crazy, the different hobbies and the different interests that people have, that it's so diverse. And I mean, one guy cares about something that might seem silly to the next guy, and so forth. But I like looking that way. I like being older and standing out as being something unusual in a good way as an old guy. It also gives me purpose. I'm retired. My income, I have some commercial buildings that I lease out, and that's what is where my income comes from, and keeps the lights on. And so it gives me something to do, and it's my job daily. I am messing with food, shopping, working out, fixing food, cleaning up, and getting ready for more food. And as you know, in the off season, I'll just say, and I'm sure you already know this, because if you have a bodybuilder's mentality, you never have enough muscle. You can never have too much muscle. And I was able as a skinny guy to put more muscle on, and I still never have the most muscle on stage, but my conditioning is second to none. Conditioning is something that you don't have to have genetics for. You just have to have willpower and discipline. And there's no reason as a contestant that you can't step out there being the most conditioned guy on stage. And especially as an older guy, I win with my abs. That's my feature. I have particularly good abs, especially for an old guy. Old guys frequently have trouble getting tight in the belly. Skin issues and so on and so forth, and I've been lucky in that way. And so I'm kind of noted for my abs. And but again, like I said, I was skinny. I've always been a skinny guy trying to put muscle on, but in the off season, I'm 6'3", but I will go to 260, 270 pounds, and I'll step on stage at 220. And I mean, when I start my prep, I'll literally drop 45, 50 pounds in about 12 to 14 weeks, and then step out on stage. And I know that I've seen places where they say you can gain muscle and stay lean. I personally have my doubts about that, because I know many more that will tell you, you have to look a little fluffy and almost fat in the off season in order to put that muscle on, because you have to eat. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Eat.
Yeah. I ate till I wanted to puke on my shoes. That's what made that year so miserable, was the fact that I just literally concentrated for a year, and I just ate every day beyond what I was comfortable. And so, it's a fitness thing. As people say, well, geez, you're fit, you're healthy. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. Some of the stuff that we have to do if you're going to be a competitive bodybuilder and go to that extreme is not necessarily particular, but you're not terrible for you, but not particularly good for you. Those kind of weight swings, especially as an old guy, and dieting yourself down to I'll get down to as low as 3%. And I literally get doctors' warnings backstage saying, "Hey, you can kind of endanger yourself, and you maybe take a a diuretic, a water pill the night before and the day of a show, and you have to be careful with those, especially when you're already dehydrated. And I mean, you have to know what you're doing if you're going to do all that, because there's a certain amount of danger there. If you don't know what you're doing, you could mess yourself up. And so I am not always wild about everything you have to do. And as an older guy, some of the stuff I just don't do anymore in my workouts and in my supplements and all of that. I don't take steroids, but I will be perfectly honest with everybody. I take HGH daily. I take 4 IUs of HGH daily, and I take a testosterone supplement. And when I'm prepping and training, a lot of times I will take more, an elevated dose of the testosterone. And I'm my own doctor. I do all my own injections. And I've been doing this a while, so I've kind of got it down. And I stay in close contact with my doctor. I tell my doctor everything. I have my blood work done quarterly, and I have friends that do this that take steroids and everything else, and they'll stop and clean up before they go to their doctor. And I will advise anybody out there that's doing that, don't do that. Tell your doctor. He's not going to spank you. I go to my doctor and I say, I'm a competitive bodybuilder. I'm taking this and this and this, and I don't want to endanger myself or my health, because it's not more important to me than my health, but it is important to me. And so I want you to keep me in the game. I want you to make sure I don't do something stupid. So I work with my doctor, and they'll say, well, you necessarily need to do this or that, but it's not all that bad. And all with him keeping an eye on me, I think that's the safest way to do it. And again, I don't get too carried away. I take a boosted dose of test and I take some HGH. But in the past, as a younger guy, I had done some of the lesser volatile steroids. Some of them are quite, I'm going to say, different levels of harmfulness, for lack of a better way of putting it. But I'm kind of over all that. At my age, I'm not into doing that. And, testosterone isn't a steroid, and neither is HGH. But it's how it is. Like I said, just keep a close eye on your blood. And then as far as the workouts, that's the other part. As you get older, you kind of got to temper your workouts a little bit if you want to continue to be able to go every day, because as you get older, it's easy to hurt yourself.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. So Steve, what's your message to younger fellas who aren't necessarily taking their health as seriously as they should?
Well, as a young guy, we all have a certain amount of that. And the young guys, they want to wake up tomorrow looking like, Arnold. So they're not very patient, and you really need to be, because it's a sport of years. It literally takes years to get to that level. And so the first thing they want to do is jump on steroids. My advice to them is and depending on how old they are, they need to, you can't really tell these guys not to do it, because they don't care. And I was the same way when I was young. The old men in the gym used to say, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. I used to do that. And now I'm all messed up. And I think, yeah, right. That's you, buddy. I'll never be that way. Look at me. I'm awesome. And as I got older, I found out, those old guys that I thought were full of crap, they're not full of crap. And so they need to, as a young man, if you're going to get into this, you need to do your homework. You need to do your research. And if you're thinking about getting into these drugs, then you want to be familiar with the side effects and what ones are the safer ones to use and which ones are the ones you need to stay away from. There's several different ways to get where you're trying to go. And so you need to not be in such a rush that you just load up with massive doses of these, stronger steroids, or you will do your body some damage. You'll hurt your liver, you'll hurt your heart, and you just don't do it. Temper that enthusiasm a little bit, and do your research and find out which ones do what. And lower doses work just as well as higher doses. Everybody thinks that if a little is good, more is better. When it comes to these kind of substances, that's not necessarily true. To a point, you get to a point with your dose where you just are going overboard, and you're not doing yourself any good. You're just being hard on your body. So, and then last but not least, if you have, as a young guy, if you have an older person that knows what they're doing, that can be the most valuable asset you have. You need to listen to somebody that understands. They won't steer you wrong. I know when people ask me, I will give them advice and not try to tell them not to do it. I'll warn them not to do it. Then I'll say, if you have to do it, here's the way you need to do it. And I'm always even more conservative with my advice for them than I am for myself. And so just be careful and use the people around you and get educated and go at it easy. As a young person, you got all the time in the world, and you'll build a better body that way.
So I got to just say, for me, it makes no sense to do steroids. The whole point of doing this, first and foremost, is to prolong my health, prolong my life.
Right.
That's the number one reason I get into fitness. I'm adding skeletal muscle because as I get older, I want to be stronger. I want to be tougher. And when I'm 57 now, I'll be 58 this summer. I want to be in a space where by the time I'm 70, I'm big and strong like you, and I haven't messed up my my organs.
Right.
I haven't messed up my health. So anybody who's getting into this and wants to do steroids has just got to give their head a shake, because I think it's nuts to put your health at risk for any reason. So that's first and foremost. It makes no sense. And the research on this stuff is out there. This is not like, you're not sure what the impact of this stuff is going to be. The long-term impact isn't positive. So there's no need to think about that. It's not positive. So don't do something that's going to mess you up. That's me. Number one. And number two, I think the bigger issue these days, Steve, isn't that there's a lot of young guys that are coming into the sport and lifting weights. It's that there's so many that are not, that are little Pillsbury doughboys and are not doing what they need to do. And I'm wondering, what's your message to those men? What do they need to do to get out of this complacency that's having them be weak, physically weak? So I don't think a man is a man if he's physically weak. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
No, I agree completely. And what I would say about that is the fact that if you're building habits like that as a younger guy, or girl, if you're building habits like that,
but this is a show for men, so let's stick to men.
Okay. If you're building habits like that and you fall into that groove, getting it, as you get older, it's not going to get any better. You need to, I'm going to just say, you need to develop an ethic, and it's hard because if you're not used to going to the gym, or you're not used to getting some sort of exercise almost every day, or let's say 5 days a week, you need to. And I know that for me, when I first started going to the gym, I loved the look of the bodybuilder, but I got to the gym and I really didn't enjoy it. I didn't know what I was doing. Everybody looked better than me. They all knew each other and were chatting and having fun, and they knew what they were doing with the workout. And I would force myself to go, and, I'd do it for a month, and then I'd say, well, I still look the same. This isn't doing anything. This isn't any fun. I'll go have a hamburger instead. And and I went back and forth like that several times as a young man before I finally stuck with it long enough that I started seeing just slight results. And I was so pleased that I go, whoa, wow, that wasn't there before. And I said, maybe this stuff does work. And then that's what finally clipped a trigger in me to learn, seek help, and all of that. I know young guys don't have a lot of money, so it's hard to hire a trainer when you're a young guy. And everything that I know, at some point, I probably paid a trainer or somebody to teach me. I don't have any original knowledge of my own, but just having done this for so long, I've learned a lot. And so yeah, I guess that's what I would say about that. It's so, like everything else, there's so much more to it when you get on the inside and you really want to get into the nuts and bolts, as opposed to just looking at it from the outside, which is everything in life, I think, is that way. Looks easy on the outside looking in, and then you get inside and find out how involved it is. And I have people message me all the time, hey, how do you do that? What advice do you have? And I said, and I have to write back. I mean, I'm happy to give them advice, but I have to write back and say, that's a question that I would have to write a book to answer for you. So and even me still to this day, the more I learn, the more I understand how much more I wish I knew. And it's never ending. The nutrition, the supplements, the workout techniques, and the little idiosyncrasies and ambiances of the workout that a lot of people that aren't as into it don't know. I know you know this, Nick, but one of the things that so many people don't know when you see them in the gym is what they call the mind-muscle connection. Yeah. And you'll see somebody over there looking out the window or talking on their phone while they're doing an arm curl, and you need to get serious about it. You need to have your breathing correct when you're doing your repetitions, and you need to put your mind in the muscle. If you want to develop that muscle, whatever muscle you're working on, you need to put your mind. I tell the young guys, become the muscle, grasshopper. When you're doing your set, become the muscle. And I'll literally stand in the mirror when I'm doing my biceps, and I will stare at my biceps and just literally concentrate on using nothing but bicep to lift that weight. Same with my shoulders. I'm working my front delts. I stare right at them. And another important thing is, don't lift weight that's too heavy. You need to, as a young guy, not be concerned about showing everybody how much you can lift. You need to get a weight, no matter how small it is, it doesn't matter. You need to get a weight, and everybody's probably heard this, but using your proper form and using your mind-muscle connection and employ some of these things that will make somebody that's just hacking around in the gym, will turn them into a physical specimen. These are the kind of, you need to specialize a little bit and do it like you know what you're doing, instead of just punching the clock and going in there. And I know I should go to the gym, so I'm going to go in and screw around for 45 minutes and leave. And you'll see people doing a set, and the minute they start, the muscle starts getting a little tired, they put it down. That's right when your muscle is starting to benefit. You need to. There's a certain amount of pain you need to, and I'm talking about if you want to develop an impressive physique. You can stay physically fit, just getting motion and exercise and a good diet, and that'll keep you trim and kind of fit looking. But if you want to look like a badass or a bodybuilder, or just have a muscular type of a physique where you literally have a look that people can look at you and go, oh, wow, you go to the gym. That was great. A little bit more extreme of a build, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Then you need to get into some of the finer points of like I said, the workout and the nutrition, because I always thought I had a pretty good physique, but when I started doing these competitions in 57, I realized, okay, if I'm going to be any good at this, I actually have to eat and plan my diet and and count my macros and do some of these things. People think, "Oh, that's over the top. I'm not willing to do that." Well, okay, maybe you're not cut out for that. It's not for everybody. But if you want that type of a physique, these are some things that you're just going to have to resign yourself to doing. And just like going to the gym, or these people that are turning into doughboys that don't get any exercise, you'll be amazed at how your body and mind will take to it. If you'll just make yourself do it for a certain amount of time, it becomes habit. And I can tell you now, I mean, there was a time when I never wanted to go to the gym, and now when I have a day where I don't go to the gym, I don't know what to do with myself. So it's unbelievable what your body will become accustomed to, and actually start liking once you condition it to do that.
You know, everything you're saying is exactly correct. And what's been shocking for me was how important it has been to go past my limits with my workouts.
Yeah.
Because I always thought I worked out pretty hard. But when I started working out with my coach, I realized, man, I could go a lot harder.
Yep.
Starting to do that has had my physique transform.
Yeah, that's what it takes. Most people think they're working hard, and most people don't really realize how much more they have in them if they just grit their teeth and grind, keep going, because there's a certain amount of pain. You know, the phrase "no pain, no gain."
Yeah.
It just didn't come out of thin air. It's true, and so. There's no other way to say it. You need to be willing to subject yourself to some pain and discipline if that's what you're trying to do and attain that look. There's no other way to get there. When everybody else puts the weight down, you do 5 more reps. You think, I didn't think I could, but you can. And when you put that weight down, those muscles are just singing. I mean, they're just, they're just. Sorry. They're just, and people will start to realize, and that's where a trainer comes in. I can tell you, I always get a better workout with a trainer. And funny, but as a guy, a lot of times I will hire female trainers that are serious competitors, because no guy wants to whip out in front of a girl. So that's just a little side note. I will hire female trainers and tell them to bust my ass for me. And you literally don't want to fish out with a girl watching you. It's just a guy thing. So I get a kick out of that, but it's true. And I have male trainers too. And people look at me at the gym and go, "You got a trainer? You should be a trainer." And I said, "Mr. Olympia has a trainer, but you don't have to have a trainer. You don't have to have one to get where you're going. Get some knowledge and get some discipline. And get some grit and grind, brother, grind." I call it the beautiful grind.
I believe in coaching. I do better when I have a coach who knows what they're doing. They're going to see what's in my blind spot. They're going to get me past my limitations.
Yeah. Yep.
And best investment I made over the last 2 years is to work with Amber, my coach. And here's the amazing thing. I had my whole family work out with this fellow. And then when my son finished high school, he started working with him in the summer. And then he hired him to work with him full time. He decided not to go to school. So he's now a fitness coach and trainer. And he's my trainer. I was his first client. So
cool.
now 19-year-old son trains me. And he's very good, and he pushes me past my limits. So I go see him 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah. It's funny. I have a lot of young guys that help me, that know what they're doing too, particularly with posing for me.
Yes.
A stiff old guy, I don't want to look like a stiff old man up there on stage. I want to look cool. So as far as the posing goes, and because you've done a show, I never thought much about the posing, but I just figured I'll get up there, and if you got a good body, you're going to win. And you realize the first time you get up there, you go, "Oh, I don't have a mirror in front of me." and I can't see what I look like. I can't have I'm constantly hunting for my poses, and I worry about flowing from one pose to the next. And it's an art. It's part of the sport if you're going to be a competitor. But even if you're just trying to do it to have a good body, the trainer is great. But as a young guy, I really didn't have enough money for a trainer. I was busy trying to work and go to the gym and buy food and chase girls and all of that. And so I'm sure as an older guy, I mean, I'm married now, and I go home every night and I eat on time and sleep on time and do all the things right. I almost got better at it as an older guy than I was as a younger guy because I just had too full of a calendar and not enough money or time to keep up with everything I wanted to do.
Yeah, so let's wrap this up by talking about sleep and recovery, because a lot of people don't understand how important those are. So why don't you talk about sleep and recovery and why they are so important to pay attention?
Yes. The two things that you take for granted, you can't just go to the gym, work your ass off with the weights, and have your muscles grow. They won't, without all the other stuff, they won't really grow much. So sleep and nutrition both, I found out just how important both of those two things are when I started doing competitions. And the minute I reconciled myself to knuckling down and doing those other things correctly away from the gym, that's where you make huge strides. And I will say, people might not believe it, but if you will learn about your nutrition and your sleep and do that right, it's maybe more important than the actual workout. And I'm a firm believer in that. People say, oh, yeah, right. No, it's true. And you're not going to believe it maybe until you do it and experience it. But sleep it affects, I mean, it not only affects your growth, your workout, I mean, it affects your health. It's probably the most important thing you could do, whether you're going to the gym or working out or whatever. And so, again, as a young person, I stayed up too late, had to get up, go to work early and those kinds of things. And now, as an older guy, I go to bed on time and I can get up early and get my food and all of that. And it just makes a huge difference. So I know those aren't some of the things that people want to do. They don't want to stop and take the time to worry about their food to that degree and prep all these, it's kind of repetitious and same with the sleep. You need to spend 8 hours in bed. And if you could get 8 hours of sleep, that's great, or whatever it takes. But I just think that a lot of people burn the candles at both ends these days and stay up too late, have to get up early. Drink. Alcohol is another thing. You can't drink much if you want to be a competitive bodybuilder with the kind of extreme look that we have to do what we do.
Yeah, alcohol's a poison.
It's the worst. And funny, people will ask me, Nick, they'll say, well, I could, how do I look like that, Steve? Well, you got to go to the gym. Okay, I could go to the gym. I'll do that. Well, you've got to clean up your diet some. Oh, okay, I could probably do that. I got to clean up my diet. And you need to quit drinking or drink little to very little. Oh, okay, I'm out. Eject, I'm done. So, okay, it's not for you then because you can't do both. And so priorities, how bad do you want it? Like not only bodybuilding, but that's true in life for anything. People have a drive and they have something in their tunnel vision and are driven to attain it, whatever it is. You got a good chance of doing it, but it's a priority, and it's all about how bad do you want it? How much are you willing to sacrifice? And they want to know, well, what's your secret? You're damn near 70 years old. You look like that. And I say, you know what? I know you'd love to think that there's a secret that I can tell you to make this easy, but I think you know the secret. There is no secret. It takes just exactly what you've always heard it takes. hard work and discipline, and you miss out on drinking and partying and all of that, at least to a certain degree, if you want to get what you want. One of the things I love about it is you can't buy it. So if it was easy, everybody would look like that. So there's only one way to get there, and you can even be poor and get there. But it's I can't tell you how much fun it's been for me, though. It's just again, like I said, opened all sorts of doors, and even in the minor celebrity, it's made me realize what being a real celebrity must be like, because I experience crazy things. I mean, I consider myself a fourth-tier celebrity. The only reason I have any celebrity at all is because of my age. In my little group of what I do, I'm known because I'm damn near 70, and most guys have the sense to quit doing that before they're 70. But it's just so much fun for me, and it's fun for being known for that, and like I say, still being relevant at my age and being able to beat younger guys. And I mean, there's a satisfaction in that, and you can probably understand that. And I live for it right now. And there is a day where I'm not going to do any shows, and it's in the near future, and I'm going to back out of it. I'll never quit going to the gym, and I'll always be a fit old guy, but I'm not going to maintain my world-class edge forever. I won't be able to. I don't care how long and how well you age, all at different rates. But I mean, it does catch, it catches up with you. I see it coming. I see it in little places, my skin and my stomach, even though I'm known for my abs. I see it coming. And, I have all my friends my age, they envy my life. I have a good life. And they all say, Jesus, Steve, if I looked like you, I would never even buy a shirt. and I get a lot of attention on the social media, and I wake up with messages from young girls every day in my message box. My wife loves that. And
I bet she does.
Yeah. And it's flattering, but I don't take myself all that seriously. I've always been kind of a lighthearted clown of a guy in school and everything else. I like to have fun wherever I go. You make your own fun, is what I say. You can't rely on somebody else to create fun for you. You make your own fun, and so I like to try to make fun and put it in every situation. I only got not that long left to go. I want to work what I have left for all it's worth.
Amen. Steve, it's been a lot of fun spending this time with you, getting to know you over this 47 odd minutes that we've been speaking together.
Yeah.
You're an American original, doing what you do at your age. I look up to you because I'm 57, and I want to get my pro card when I turn 60, and I want to go right to the end, being healthy, fit, and strong. And you're a great role model. You're a great role model. Thank you.
I love that, and that's a perfect plan. You're 57. You've got one show under your belt, and your first show is just kind of a deer in the headlights, get up there, what it's feeling. But I can tell you get more comfortable every time you get up on that stage. Each time you go back, you get a little more comfortable. And when I started out, I was just first time on stage. I couldn't even look at the judges. They're sitting right down there in front of you. And I would kind of look out into the lights and just literally a deer in the headlights. And just feeling completely uncomfortable. And now I get up on stage and I want everybody looking at me. I look at the judges, and if they're not looking at me, I'll shift my pose or do something to draw their attention, because I want every one of them looking at me the whole time. So that's how comfortable I've gotten. And that's all part of it. So, they tell you to smile. They tell you to, look like you're in the physique. And is that what you did, was physique, I guess?
No, I didn't do physique. I don't like.
Did
the
you do
long
bodybuilding
shorts. I
or
don't
classic?
like the long shorts, so I did the. I like the old trunks.
Yeah, okay. You like the little nut pouch. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you do classic physique then or bodybuilding?
I think I did classic
Yeah.
masters, 35 plus.
Yeah. Well, bodybuilding is the gorillas. The classic is muscular, but not skinny like the physique guys. And then the physique guys are the skinniest ones of the bunch. But
Yeah.
I wear the board shorts, and I don't understand why they put us in board shorts because
Me neither.
why do they call it men's physique? Maybe they should call it men's upper body because doesn't make sense.
I don't like those
I have
shorts. I don't wanna
calves,
wear
so
them.
my calves hang out, and I got pretty good calves for a physique guy. Because if you look at some of the physique guys, they don't have any calves either. But yeah, it's but you're in the perfect spot at your age. And then when you turn 60, you'll have some experience under your belt and you will be right at the bottom of the age class. So you'll be the youngest guys up there on stage in the 60-year-old group. And that's perfect. So I think you got a good plan to target for your pro card and more than enough time to get there. Seriously.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to staying in touch with you. I hope that one day you write down all the knowledge that you've acquired and put a book out, because it would be a book worth reading. God bless you, man. Thanks for coming to the show.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, you bet.
I enjoyed it. I'll keep tabs on you on social media.
Ditto.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you for listening to the Sovereign Man Podcast. If you're ready to take charge of your life and become the man you've always wanted to be, we invite you to join the movement at sovereignman.ca.